Does Tom want to go into the boxing world and maybe fight a Tyson Fury, maybe fight a Deontay Wilder?
I don't know if he does, but I think if you get into that top percentage of the sport, the UFC do not pay anywhere near as much as the boxing does. And I know, being around Tom every day, that when he spars good boxers, he spars good. So I think he'd do really well against a real high-class boxer.
With Zuffa Boxing under Dana White's leadership, do you think there could be an eventual crossover where you get a massive super fight that could be on a Netflix?
It doesn't depend on me, that depends on Dana White. But I think Tom has the ability, because I've seen him box at the highest level against some real good guys, that he could be at that level.
Title was on the line against Alex Pereira. You'd be happy with it being a feature fight?
It'd be cool to fight over the heavyweight championship, but I would also willingly give up the heavyweight championship. I walked away from the light heavyweight championship, and I'd love to walk away from this one as well, on top, on his own terms, good head and shoulder, making lots of money. I love the position that I'm in right now. Fighting Pereira for the Banff belt, that'd be cool. We both have 2 belts in 2 weight classes. The night we fought, we'd be both fighting for our 3rd belt, which would be the Banff. How cool would that be? You heard it here first. I haven't had this conversation with any other.
All right, your turn. Who leaves with their hand raised and who has to eat their words? Is Tank ready to shut down the show once and for all? Or does Jake deliver another jaw-dropping upset that sends the purists into meltdown? Hit the comments with your predictions. Let's see who's really calling this right. And hey, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Boxing Headquarters so you never miss the action. Catch you in the next one.
I'm seeing it all online. Tom quit, Tom quit, Tom quit. It got dicey out there for him and he quit. That's what the people are saying. Complete hogwash, complete nonsense. If you just watch it, you will see that those were 2 nasty, deep eye pokes. You could say that he lost that first round. I think he lost that first round. I think we all agree that he lost that first round.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could. I mean, that is fair game. But to suggest that he quit, that he wanted a way out, that he looked for a way out because the going got tough is just something that I'm not going to subscribe to. You know, Jon Jones is going to weigh in. This is the guy. This is the guy. For the record, Jon Jones was offered for the millionth time $30 million to fight this man, and he didn't. You can't claim after the fact, this is the guy, but you know he's going to spike the football. And there's a cruel irony involved in the fact that Tom doesn't fight Jon Jones, but still gets eye poked. But this is tough for him. This is the first time in his career where he's not going to be beloved by people, because people are going to accuse him of being a quitter, because they're going to say that the going got tough and he asked for a way out. I think that's absolute hogwash. He got poked in both eyes
and laid there on his back until Jon submitted him. Against the cage, Garn was sat there, not moving, not bucking, not shifting or fighting hands, sitting there like this until Jon locked up the guillotine on him. I'm very aware of what happened in that fight. And do I wish Tom would have finished him earlier? I do, without resistance. That was the ideal circumstance for Tom Aspinall, was to finish Cyril Gane with no resistance in the first round. I think we see an overconfident Gane in the rematch, and I think Tom smokes him. But Tom was raging. So there's an emotional aspect to this rematch now that I'm worried about, because I've been looking for Bully Tom to make an appearance for a very long time, you guys. For a very long time, I've been waiting for Bully Tom to make an appearance. And he made the appearance on, what the fuck you guys booing me for? He genuinely made an appearance in the post-fight speech. The fuck you guys booing me for? I got fucking double eye poked. A double eye poke landed. Insane. Crazy. Horrible result for the main event. Worst case scenario. All things come together. It's weird how MMA works, is it not? Dirtiest fighter on the heavyweight roster, Cyril Gane, constantly cheats every single fight. He's a dirty little French cunt. Jon Jones is the nemesis of Tom Aspinall.
E aí, Porta? Acontece. Guys, I just got fucking poked knuckle deep in the eyeball. What the why are you booing? What am I supposed to do about it? I didn't do the fucking poke. I can't see.
Tom, they should not be booing. I agree with you. You waited a long time for this moment. Talk to the disappointment of this being how it ends.
This is bullshit. The fight was just getting going.
And right in the middle of all this chaos stands Tom Aspinall. He's openly said that when his current UFC contract runs out, he's packing his bags and heading to the boxing world. According to him, the money gap is just too big to ignore. And he credits Francis Ngannou for proving that heavyweights can bet on themselves and win. Ngannou already left the UFC over pay disputes, lack of respect, and non-stop clashes with Dana White. And Aspinall seems ready to follow that same path.
So what was the holdup with the UFC? Like, what led you to not sign?
There was a lot of frustration over the years. I think since my fight against Stipe, my first fight against Stipe, my relation with the UFC never been the same.
Really?
I feel like I wasn't in the right place. Then I get the Derek Lewis fight, it was like the worst fight, and that didn't hurt me at all.
You win the Cyril Gane fight. Then what happened?
I have no guarantee that signing this contract, I will not get into what I have been to in the past 3 years. So how about we change something that will make me feel secure?
And what did you want to change?
A lot of things.
Now, Tom Aspinall, possibly the most skilled heavyweight in the UFC today, is experiencing that reality firsthand. After the brutal eye poke incident in his fight with Cyril Gane, he ended up in the hospital with serious injuries. But Dana White's response? Cold and careless. Rather than showing concern, Dana implied that Tom simply opted not to keep fighting, brushing off the severity of the situation entirely.
The UFC guys are fighting without any understanding of how much revenue's in the pot. What time does the UFC fighter go, hang on a minute, how much money is in the pot here? You kind of need me, don't you? I mean, I'm the talent. Without me, do you even have a show? Yeah, maybe you can put someone else on. But I've just sold this arena out. I'm just racking you up 400,000 or 500,000 pay-per-view buys. So you imagine you said to a star in the UFC, right, it's your show. And we're going to have open book and you're going to take 80% of the profit of the show. And we take 20%. Imagine how much the UFC fighters would be making. 5, 6, 7 times more than they're making at the moment. The UFC guys are fighting without any understanding of how much revenue's in the pot. And these guys don't care because, and by the way, it's their business. They can do what they want. If they can get away with that model, good luck to them. But in that model where it's a league or it's a contender series and the guys are getting 50 if you win this fight and 100 and then 200, it's peanuts. How much are they getting from Paramount? You know, if it's multi-million dollars per show for the rights fee, which it probably will be, the profit is unbelievable.
Dana did do an interview with 60 Minutes. There were two things that I thought were really interesting. He loves to talk about freedom of speech, and he'll say freedom of speech is very important here. And then he'll say the most important type of speech to protect is hate speech. That I don't quite understand. Why is it more important to protect hate speech than just speech in general, all kinds of speech? If freedom of speech is so important and freedom of hate speech is so important, then why isn't freedom of press important as well? Because as we know, and let's not even talk about myself, long before I came on the scene, there were issues between, Dana White and the press. And of course, my situation is probably the most notable one. But why don't you feel the same way about the press? If you feel so strongly about freedom of speech and freedom of hate speech, surely you should feel strongly about freedom of press, especially when the press isn't even being critical in any way, shape, or form. You just want a certain type of press. That to me is a contradiction. Also, he says, I don't believe in destroying people's lives if they make a singular mistake. I mean, I sit here today, he has tried actively to destroy my life because I reported some news, some fight news. Again, Dana White didn't dislike me because I was critical of the UFC. They didn't like me because I was reporting fight announcements. So if you don't know these things, I can understand why you would sit there and be like, you know what? I like this guy. But if you know and you lived it and you've watched him and you've covered him, you know that this whole thing now, freedom of this, freedom of that, freedom of this, freedom of that, is a little hypocritical.
Dana's comments were a wake-up call, confirming what Tom and his family had already feared. Even before this matchup, his father, Andy Aspinall, admitted he didn't want Tom locked into the UFC long-term. His plan has always been simple: finish the contract, then head into boxing where the pay is higher and the respect is real. That's not anger speaking, that's reality in today's fight business. And Tom isn't the only one considering the exit door. Alex Pereira, even after another huge victory, has openly talked about exploring other options. He's teased a move to a higher weight class. or maybe even chasing major boxing opportunities of his own.
Does Dana White hate Tom Aspinall? Because in the post-match press conference, he was going at his heavyweight champion like he absolutely did not like him.
I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and Tom didn't want to continue in the fight.
And his key word there is didn't. He didn't say Tom Aspinall couldn't continue, insinuating that he's a quitter.
I don't know if it's because Andy Aspinall's saying Tom wants to go to boxing and he'd love a big payday in boxing, or that's just Andy being a manager and a dad negotiating.
I'm going to be honest, I'll give Dana the benefit of the doubt. He could have easily just misspoke. And the fact that if you do watch the YouTube that Aspinall put out, Dana White's in the locker room before wishing him all luck. I'm sure he's on good terms with Tom Aspinall and his father, because Dana White, let's be honest, if he doesn't have Tom Aspinall, he doesn't have a heavyweight division. If you saw the other heavyweight fights that were on this UFC 321 card, absolute
They're tired of the politics, the low pay, and the UFC's constant need to control everything. And even Jon Jones, once the crown jewel of Dana White's empire, has said he'll only return for a single fight, ideally on the White House card, before calling it quits again. The truth is hard to ignore. The UFC's biggest stars are planning their exits, and the responsibility falls squarely on Dana White's shoulders. Fans see what's happening, the favoritism, the disrespect, and the lack of real value given to the athletes who literally put their bodies on the line every time they step into the cage. Fighters like Francis Ngannou, Tom Aspinall, and Alex Pereira are proving they have alternatives. They don't have to stay under the UFC banner to make millions or build legacy anymore. And with new reports of pay cuts across multiple divisions, the fighters are sending a loud, unified message. They're tired of the politics, the low pay, and the UFC's constant need to control everything. And even Jon Jones, once the crown jewel of Dana White's empire, has said he'll only return for a single fight, ideally on the White House card, before calling it quits again. The truth is hard to ignore. The UFC's biggest stars are planning their exits, and the responsibility falls squarely on Dana White's shoulders. Fans see what's happening, the favoritism, the disrespect, and the lack of real value given to the athletes who literally put their bodies on the line every time they step into the cage. Fighters like Francis Ngannou, Tom Aspinall, and Alex Pereira are proving they have alternatives. They don't have to stay under the UFC banner to make millions or build legacy anymore. And with new reports of pay cuts across multiple divisions, the fighters are sending a loud, unified message.